Staying with efforts to mediate the war in Ukraine and what exactly transpired at a Warsaw airport. I'm now joined by former Ambassador Kingsley Makhubela via Zoom. Thank you so much, Mr. Makhubela, for your time, and good morning to you. Give us your perspective here. Are these events normal under any circumstances to see what transpired in Warsaw? I'm not sure if you were listening into the clip, but another, female diplomat being stripped naked in front of other male diplomats, the president's security detail or rather engaging in a standoff with Polish officials. Is this normal?
Tumelo, good morning, and good morning to your listeners. It's a bit unfortunate to see this incident unfolding. Having said that, I think all South Africans, we are concerned about the safety of our president. And the safety of our president is paramount. Now that the president is in harm's way, we all hope that he will remain safe throughout his mission. Having said that, Tumelo, it's very abnormal to see this kind of a diplomatic spat. I think it could have been handled totally different by Polish authority. The least they could have done also is to take the whole passengers, the whole crew of passengers, to a safety place within the airport precinct. Most airports have hotels and book them there, that they remain within the international space and be able to manage and handle whatever dispute they have with the South African contingency in a much more better way.
I mean, Mr. Makhubela, you're saying that the president's safety is of paramount concern. I absolutely agree with you. What concerns me is the presidency releasing a statement that what is happening or what happened at Warsaw Airport is not a cause for concern. Surely it should concern the presidency. Surely South Africans should be concerned of their president's safety, all aboard the plane's safety, especially knowing that there's a peace mission here that he is leading where there is conflict between, Russia as well as Ukraine. We've seen some of the African heads of states pulling out because of safety and security concerns. So when this happens, it's concerning that the presidency would say this is not a cause for concern.
I think, Tumelo, the matter could have been handled totally different. And I think South African contingency of journalists would have understood this. If the team that is accompanying the president had gone to the journalists or all media people, explained the quagmire or the dilemma they are in it, and request them not to report on the incident until the president is out of harm's way. It's just unfortunate that this is playing itself when the president is still in harm's way. He's in a conflict area. People who are hostile to South Africa may start to know how vulnerable is our president without his close security protection. Though the Ukrainians will provide protection, no doubt about it, whilst he's there, but we also understand that the president is in a war zone, and that primary responsibility of the protection of the president, it lies with us in this case. It could have been handled totally different. If I was in that situation, I would have pleaded with journalists, and I know our journalists would have understood that we can't report about details of the incident until the president is out of harm's way. It happens with heads of state in most cases that you find there's a problem of security, but we only learn about it once a head of state is out of harm's way. I'm saying it's unfortunate it's playing itself when the president is still in harm's way, and we all hope that he'll be safe.
And with that being said, Mr. Makhubela, because the information is already out there, it's in the public domain now, my question to you is the president in harm's way, given the earlier point you mentioned around a possibility of hostility that South Africa, as well as the president, may perhaps face as a form of a backlash to the neutrality stance that South Africa has taken between this, conflict between Russia and Ukraine? He said it even himself during the Africa Day commemorations on the 25th of May that there have been threats. We've seen them even from, other Western countries that seems to want to back South Africa and push it into a corner to take a stance, to pick a side, with which our president refused to this day to do so, instead saying they believed in conflict resolution through dialogue. So are you saying there might be a target here on South Africa's back?
I hope not. What I'm saying is that the fact that the president is in a war zone, he's in harm's way. And the war, we've been observing what is going on. It's totally indiscriminate what has been going on there. We only hope that our president won't be harmed. That's what we are all praying for, and I think all South Africans are praying for that. But having said that, I think the host country has a level of responsibility to ensure his protection. I don't doubt the sincerity of the Ukrainian government to ensure that the president is absolutely protected throughout his mission. It would be unfortunate if anything was to happen in their own country. And I think they would take all necessary measures to ensure that nothing happened. With this kind of missions, even the other side knows that the president is in a particular area. They will not attempt to come up with a conflict in the area where the president is. We have seen it during Joe Biden's visit. The Americans did inform the Russians about the presence of Joe Biden and where he will be going. And there was an understanding that there won't be any hostile fire during that area, during that time in that area. And we hope, in this case, the same measures will be taken to ensure the safety of our president. But I still think that this matter shouldn't have been playing itself out during the time when the president is actually in harm's way. It could be handled totally different.
Do you think this incident will affect the peace mission itself? Do you think in any way it will compromise the quality of those engagements that the president was hoping to lead amongst other African leaders leading to Kiev? I also ask this because we've already seen other African leaders now pulling out because of those security reasons, citing that it might be too dangerous of a visit at this time. But about the mission itself, do you think it'll still go ahead? Do you think it'll still be productive?
I think the president will carry on with his mission. As we've seen, he's already in Kiev. I think he will do whatever it takes to do what he needed to do. About the success of the mission is totally something different. I think there are a lot of issues that we are all having in terms of the content. The Ukrainians have made it quite clear that there are two issues that any peace mission should consider. One is the fact that the territorial integrity of the Ukrainian must be observed, and that the Russians must withdraw, and there must be some reparation. Of course, that's seeking capitulation. I don't know if the Russians are going to accept that. We'll keep on observing what kind of message is given to the president to take it to the other side, and that will determine the success of the mission. So far, they've accepted to dialogue. They haven't accepted mediation. They've accepted to hear what the African delegation can offer in terms of mediating in the conflict.
But also, do you get a sense from other African leaders that they are speaking in unity, in one voice here? I think that is also the perception that was what the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, wanted, that all African heads of state come together in a united voice and form, going to, of course, engage in these dialogues. Do you think that those, of course, participating equally have trust that these peace missions will not only be, I suppose, productive, but they will represent Africa in a light that says, hey, the rest of the world, we are standing together here in trying to resolve this conflict?
Tumelo, the details are in the devil.
Yeah.
Once the president has completed what we can categorize for now as talks about talks, so he's going to discuss with them the possibility of mediation. And coming up with a roadmap moving forward will be determined by the dialogue that the president is going to have now and in Russia. And that would determine how are the African united in terms of the content of the mediation, because so far we don't know any content of the mediation. We don't know what is on the table, what is being offered by the African delegation. I think when those issues are clear, it would then unify or break the Africans. They would agree this is a way to pursue or this is not the way to pursue. So I think for now, there's nothing to talk about because there's no agreement in terms of the mediation, the condition of the mediation, and accepting what are the issues that are going to be brought to the table. It's not yet clear for now.
Well, I appreciate you speaking to us about this, giving us, clarity as well as your perspective on this matter. Thank you so much, former Ambassador Kingsley Makhubela, for joining me, and happy Youth Day to you as well, as we continue, of course, to commemorate this historical day in our history. While we keep you updated on what's happening out during the president's visit, I completely hear and understand what the former ambassador mentioned in terms of the president's security and safety being of a paramount importance, but also because the news now is of public knowledge. We'll also, of course, keep you updated on all the safety of the rest of everyone aboard that flight accompanying the president as well.